Hi, I'm Tracy Lewis with We Are Winter Garden, and I'm here with Pastor Scott, who is the founder, CEO, and president of Matthew's Hope, and also Shelley Bradford, who is the vice president and executive director of Matthew's Hope. We are on episode 23 of Straight Talk, No BS, with Matthew's Hope, and today we're going to discuss the various ways that Matthew's Hope is expanding and why it's necessary. So, typically, when you talk to somebody in the business world, I guess you want to say expansion is good. People congratulate you on expansion now. Is that good? Is it bad?
Well, I mean, hey, congratulations. There's more homeless people to serve.
Yeah, I think it's often, way too often, that I get the pat on the back and the congratulations. And, I say, well, you know why we're bigger? And they kind of look at me and they go, well, you want to offer more services? I go, well, that is part of it.
It's deeper.
It's because we need more services and there's a lot more people. I mean, the fact that, the numbers we're seeing right now, I don't think any of us dreamed of those kind of numbers.
Let's talk about Orange County and then we'll move into Brevard County because we actually are in Brevard County now at Trinity Oaks. But let's jump back to Orange County for a little bit and tell us about the recent expansion there. What's the latest expansion that you guys had in Orange County?
So we've expanded the medical area.
Okay.
That's really kind of been exciting and stressful as well.
Okay.
But the need's there, and then we're actually looking at expanding the shower area as well.
Nice, which is super important.
Yeah.
We've talked in previous episodes on how just a shower can humanize you again.
Yes.
Well, it has so much to do with the dignity aspect of it. And quite honestly, I when I'm in the Orange County campus, there's times where it's a little stressful for me in a different way because I'm watching them shower over 100 people, upwards to 130 people a day in using 5 showers. We have 12 in Brevard. There's 5 there.
Okay.
But it says a lot about the team also. They make it happen. And that's the best thing I can say about our team. They're unafraid and they make it happen. The medical aspect of it is so important because the truth is, no matter what people say or what you've heard, there are not organizations out there that are, one, specifically geared to our population. Number 2, that are available at the times that our population is available.
Right.
And so there's some good organizations out there, but they don't do what we do. And so we've added additional exam rooms. Okay. We've added staff. We've set up a really cool mental health area and added a mental health counselor to walk alongside our psychiatric nurse practitioner we work with. And so all the way around is taking a full look at the situation and trying to address it as a whole, not try to piecemeal it together.
Right. About how many people do you serve, do you think, for the medical side of it?
Oh, they've been averaging between 35 and 40 a day.
Oh, wow.
And that's roughly a 4 to 5 hour period that's being done in.
Oh.
And when you consider the average medical office sees a person every 7 minutes, we're somehow, I'm not sure how, because we take more than the 7 minutes, but somehow we're seeing a lot more people than a typical medical office would.
And how are you staffed? Is it volunteers, paid employees?
Both.
A mix of both?
We have 2 nurses on staff.
Okay.
And then we have is she a nurse practitioner, Lynn?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Then we have a nurse practitioner and a nurse that are volunteers that act like staff. They're there every Tuesday and Thursday.
Wow.
And we also have a medical student.
Okay.
And then we have the social workers and mental health care counselors and then the psychiatric nurse practitioner that we work with too. So
and
we have a few people coming out between that. I mean, I know Lynn's husband's a podiatrist.
Yep.
And he's been coming out about.
So you have
He was there yesterday.
Was he there? Yeah, he's coming fairly often, which is a big deal because a lot of the homeless do have issues
with their feet.
Yeah. And a lot of it has to do with having proper footwear, having shoes on 24/7, standing a lot, feet being damp often, diabetes, things like that. So having him making his skill set available to
that's
us on a
awesome.
regular basis has been huge.
And I don't want to veer us off track of what we're talking about with the expansion, because I do want to talk about that. But something that really opened my eyes was the color of socks that are being donated because of feet.
Yeah, yeah.
So white socks, not black
Yeah.
socks.
People have gotten
If you didn't
aggravated
know.
with me about why I'm asking for white socks, just socks, whatever's on sale. And the challenge you have is that a lot of our folks do have diabetes, and they develop foot ulcers. And if you, I can't say all because
Sure.
I'm not an expert, but typically there's dyes in those
Right.
socks. And if they absorb those dyes to those wounds, they're going to have a bigger problem. So our preference is that we are given white
White socks.
socks.
Okay.
But what I've found is interesting is there's a pretty major company that donates to us that they donate black socks to us.
And we're so grateful because
Of course.
they give us tens of thousands of pairs of
Yeah,
socks. That's no
yes.
exaggeration. The challenge is,
And we did push them
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the black socks
yeah.
versus white socks.
Okay.
and it was kind of I can't remember specifically what the reasoning was behind it, but the bottom line is we're going to be thankful for black socks, and
Right.
as our medical team realizes who is who,
Sure.
then we're going to make sure
can
they get the
adjust
proper
too.
stuff.
Yeah.
So back to the medical team, how much does this cost, this expansion for medical to pay the employees? Roughly how, is there a number that you can throw at me? Roughly how much this costs?
The expansion for the area and what it takes to put in that is about $100,000,
Wow.
which is, in today's marketplace, the last few years, we've not been running with reserves. It's one of those things where the argument can be made, I suppose, that why are you expanding when money is so tight? And the answer, quite honestly, is if somebody else wants to stand at the door and tell people, not you, I have that position open. I can't do it, and the need is so great and growing daily. I mean,
Right.
we're seeing people with some significant health issues that, with working with our partners at Advent Health, and some working with Orlando Health, we're getting more access, be able to work with information to make sure these patients get the care they need. Because often what happens is a lot of the care for the homeless happens in emergency rooms,
Right.
which is very expensive for the hospitals
Right.
as well. And often, quite honestly, if we're all honest, the homeless people, if there's 10 people in there, the homeless person is probably going to be the last person looked at. They also typically don't get a stay of very long. They usually get rehydrated and sent on their way. And
No follow-up care.
There's no follow-up care, and that's the challenge.
It's a
is-
rough cycle. They
Yeah,
just end up back there.
There's no follow-up care. Now, they may be given a name of, hey, you should see so-and-so, and they may get a prescription. But if you don't fill the prescription and you can't see that doctor, what's it make a difference? So by us being able to go into the portal and our RNs looking at that, we're able to then put together a care plan for these folks. And
That's
then
amazing.
our nurses are able to implement those and keep people in line with making sure they're taking their medications
Yeah.
when they're supposed to be compliant to the follow-up care they
Right.
need.
Wow, that's amazing that you guys do that. Let's jump to Brevard County. We're at the Brevard campus now. Can you tell me a little bit about, or all of us, what this campus looks like and what services you provide here?
So it's big. It's big. We've duplicated everything that we have in Orange County. I think because of the size of the campus, it has allowed us to enlarge some areas, to be more efficient in some ways.
Okay.
The biggest thing we're working on right now is like this room we're sitting in here. If people could see the whole room, they still see there's some painter tape on the wall and what have you. But this is going to be the groom's area, and we have a 400-seat sanctuary, so we call it Trinity Oaks of Matthew's Hope, and we can have events here. Our events that we won't have to rent from somebody else. We can
Nice.
use ours and then use it to help build revenue. So we're building the bridal suite out. We just made a commitment to a property across the street from us to have our Matthew's Hope chest in Brevard
Oh,
as
exciting.
well.
Okay.
So that's pretty exciting because I was looking for something else to do. Something that's unique about this property is that it was a former church property. So we got almost 6 acres, and I think we're now at 38,000 square feet of building. but there was dozens of classrooms,
Okay.
which we were able to turn into. I mean, we were able to turn some of that as being turned into housing. You know, we did get our final approval to do transitional housing. We're in the final stages of those designs right now, which are looking really cool, and I'm excited about.
It's been a journey.
They're going to be cool, but that's been a 1.5 year journey since we set foot on the property.
Yeah.
But on this property, we have an outreach center, which we used to be the fellowship hall, and we have a full commercial kitchen in there, so we're able to feed people several times during the week, breakfast and lunch. If we host an event, we can have a caterer work in there, which is cool. We were able to turn some of the classrooms into preschool classrooms, but we've also turned one into fulfillment, one into a food pantry that looks, the Garden of Eden food pantry. It looks like a little store. We have a hair salon here. I mean, we have a hair area in Winter Garden.
Yeah. A little corner.
But here we have I mean, this is probably larger than some salons you've ever walked into. And so we can have multiple people doing haircuts and multiple people doing manicures and things like that. And then we've been able to increase our shop capacity for the Hope Chest shop. So we have CNC machines here. We have the laser cutters, and we're starting to put stuff together for that. Again, if we can make money, that's a bonus. The real idea behind doing those things is to learn the work ethic of those people, the homeless, and give them opportunity. Help us help themselves. Well, how does that look?
And I think it's so important that we keep saying any money that is made, we're not just stuffing our pockets, we're putting it back into the ministry.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're going to change our model a little bit with the store to where we're going to do more vintage type stuff. We're going to offer more things that are sold as is. We don't want to be in the thrift store. There's plenty of good thrift stores around. So we're changing our model a little bit because we've seen how it presents opportunity.
And what works.
Yeah.
I like when you say that presents opportunity, because that's what you guys are. You have the transitional housing, which let's talk about that. Who is eligible for this transitional housing, and how does it work?
Anybody who's willing to move forward. And, one thing that I always, I'm just, how do I say this? I continue to ask the question over and over again to where I think people want to strangle me. I want to know what your end game is. If you don't have an end game, we're not, our housing is not for you. We love you. We will be here for you. But you've got to have an end game. I want to know what your end game is.
I love that you help them.
Every time I ask that, I can see the eye roll.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people, if we're honest about it, though, a lot of these folks no one's ever asked them what they want. No one, I come flat out sometimes and say, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
Outside of
Even
cowboy.
if we're 50, 60 years old.
Yeah,
Right.
because nobody's asked that, and all of a sudden you start thinking about that, and they said, if you could have anything what would it be that you want, that you need, but you recognize as a need, but you want. And a lot of times people, the first thing they talk about is their teeth,
Sure.
or their sight. So we've had several people have surgeries and have dentures built, and we've had people say, I just can't get out from underneath this old debt. Well, they can work that off. I'd love to see my children so we can pay the child support, but they work to do that. So basically anything that will move them forward. And a property like this, I gave the job to somebody. I don't know if I told you this yet, but I want to know how many doors and windows we have on this property. I am not going to count them. I know it takes about 2 hours to walk the whole property, but I'm looking at that and saying, okay, well, those windows could be cleaned pretty much every day, and we'd be fine. Yeah. But we have over here. I've got rid of a lot of our nursery people because we have homeless people that are trained to do that.
I love it.
That have taken great pride in not just the planting but designing what was going to go in.
Say what you mean by that.
Yeah.
Because when you say nursery, I think a church.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yes, yeah, true. Yeah, when I say I'm talking about the grounds,
yes.
The grounds people, the garden,
horticulturalists,
the all that kind of stuff. I mean, we got a couple guys who it fills them to do this.
It's amazing,
and they know what they're talking to. One of our supporters over here, Teresa Riley, and her husband Kevin.
She was here today.
She was here. Yeah. They owned Rockley's Gardens for years, and they just retired this past year and sold it. And they're here about half the year, back and forth from their cabin, and they spend time with our guests, and they come up with plans on what we're going to plant. I believe they were putting in blueberries, and stuff, and the other day, and we have fruit trees, and we have those, and that's all being grown and harvested by the homeless men and women we serve, and they're earning points to do that. So this property being the size it is, we can do that. And then when we have events, it's one of those great things where, like I said, the fellowship hall, which is now our outreach center, but then we have a 400-seat sanctuary that we can do concerts and weddings and other events in. And we got this amazingly beautiful courtyard that when those oak trees are lit up at night,
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
you'll knock your socks off. I mean, for any kind of event. And so that's all things that need to be taken care of and upkept. And they're all things, too, that we can provide more opportunities for our guests.
Right.
And if we do it right, we can probably produce some income for the ministry, which
Nice.
I think in this day and age, with the economy being what it is and the cost of things, the more creative we can get, the better off we're going to be. Plus, in that creativity, often you discover new skill sets that a lot of our guests didn't even know they had. One of the things I want to do is, we've got a few of them that are amazing artists. They really are. And so one of the things I want to do is do an art show
Nice.
with them.
That would be amazing. And
Okay.
invite the community in. So let's bounce back to the transitional housing, because that always intrigues me. I just love that process that you guys do. How many do you have, and what do they look like?
So let's
I
go
haven't seen
back
them
down
yet.
the road to Orange County, and we have 14 transitional houses, sorry. And then if you come back down this road, I don't know exactly how many we've landed on over
Yeah,
here.
we're somewhere between 14 and 16.
Still
We're in the
in the
final
process.
stages. We're making little changes now. Give you an example. For families in the area, what we did, or even for the singles that are going to be, some will be shared,
Okay.
is we're putting pocket doors now in between the toilets and the sinks. So that two people,
such a space saver.
it's a minor
Yeah.
thing, but as
Yeah.
I'm looking at the plans, I'm
Right.
going, oh, hold on for a minute.
Yeah.
We should be able to have, kids can be brushing teeth while mom's doing whatever her
Definitely.
business is over
Oh, that's
there,
such a great idea.
and what
Yeah.
have you. Same thing with we're setting up the single areas more like dormitory quads. So think of 4 bedrooms.
Okay.
Each side shares a bathroom, so only 2 people share that bathroom, and they have a shared living area and kitchen and living area.
What have you used as space? And is it on the property here, the transitional housing in Brevard County?
Yeah, we're actually renovating some of those old classrooms I talked about. The whole back
Oh,
strip of
nice.
this
Okay.
property will allow us to do, I think, like I said, we're at 14 to 16 units, and we're real excited. The sad part is it takes time.
Yeah.
We lost one of our grants just because of the length of time it took to get through all the processes and what have you. So, but we have some really strong partners in the way of an organization called Porchlight,
Okay.
which is actually the nonprofit arm of a company called Frameworks, which is a developer. And it occurred to them, their ownership a number of years ago, that often they're knocking down buildings that maybe people aren't living in, but maybe people are living behind, so the people are being displaced. And they realized they couldn't maybe help those people specifically, but what would happen if they got involved with nonprofits like Matthew's Hope and help do transitional housing. So, they put up a significant amount of money. We're looking for more. We're going to need more. But they've also helped us with the legal process with attorneys and the permitting process, and going to the 9 different meetings we had with the city.
It was
and
exhausting.
Zoning and all that stuff. So
Things we don't even think about.
It was exhausting.
yeah, it's and I'm the guy who sits there and goes, hey, I'll have that done next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been a I don't know if I'm gonna call it a learning process.
Yeah.
It certainly has tested my patience.
How is transitional housing different from shelters?
You got that one, or you want me?
Sure. I mean,
Uh,
yeah. Shelter is where somebody just goes and lays their head at night. There's no expectation. Where if you're in Matthew's Hope transitional housing, I can't speak for other organizations, but when you're in our transitional housing, there's expectations. You have to pass a drug test. You're expected to work a certain amount of hours, whether it be in school, at a job, or with Matthew's Hope. You're not going to just sit around and
Get things handed to
suck
you.
off of
Hope
our
that something's
system.
happening.
Yeah.
What I remember is you talking about the shelter, how is one to have a job when they need to go to the shelter
Yes.
and wait in line
Yeah.
to lay their head down for a couple hours, and then just to repeat that cycle every day. So what I'm seeing, and I feel like is so important, is that you guys are helping them with those skills that they already have, just improving them or showing them a different skill, but then getting one foot in front of the other and holding them accountable so they can, when it's time to get on their own feet, get their own place, just like Shannon did. She got her own brand new house and a car and her kids back and everything else.
We are a catch and release ministry.
Yes.
We don't have, our favorite day is the day you wave to us in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
Okay, or you invite us to dinner like Shannon did at her home with her family that she bought, that she prepared. You know, we don't do it for that thanks, but it drives us to do more. I think that you know, when you look at shelters, we have a couple problems. Is the fact that first off, we don't have enough. And in the case of Orange County, there's 3 and they're all within walking distance, which makes no sense because your heaviest populations are West Orange County and East Orange County, with no plans of doing anything else.
And how is that helping?
Well, it hides people. It's not hide.
That's not helping.
But even then, there's not enough to hide.
Yeah.
They would have to probably build 7 more to be able to hide everybody if that's their desire. But what people also in the general public don't know is shelter is not free to people.
Right.
They usually get like a free week or 3 days, or I can't remember. Each one of them is slightly different. I think one is 3, one's a week, one's 10, something like that. And then I believe the going rate is about $10 a night. And so you're taking someone who doesn't, how do they have a job if they've got to be there? You got to pretty much be in line by no later than 2 o'clock if you plan on laying your head there that night. And then otherwise what happens is you end up sleeping outside the gate. And then what happens is the police come and chase you from outside the gate. And they say you can't be here. And the compound problem is not here is not an answer, because you can't say you can't be here, but if you go down the street right over here, this is someplace you can be safe. That doesn't exist. And that's why, as we talk about all the different movements happening in homelessness right now, why it's so important we step back and look at how do we actually look at ways of getting people off the street and keeping them off the streets.
How long are they typically in transitional housing? Does it vary?
It varies per person. Typically it's no shorter than a year, 18 months.
Okay.
We've had some people stay 2 years, but at 2 years, by law, we're supposed to have moved them on.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You know.
So,
Now, if they're going to school or something like that, let's say they got a semester left of school, what have you. Typically, what we're going to do is we're going to try to support them through the rest of that process.
Gotcha.
And when you do graduate from the program, we don't just forget about you. It just simply means we are not controlling every move. We're not providing every need. We're here more to consult for you, to be here. I mean, we have guests to this day that have been out of the program for 5 years that still come and see us. And if they're going to make a major decision, a purchase or whatever, they'll come and say, you know, almost like mom and dad, well, you know, do you think this is a good idea? If, you know, if I'm going to finance this, should I take this rate or should I take this rate? Should I pay this or, you know, and we kind of walk them through that. So they're taking what they learned while they're with us, but they're smart enough to realize it's been a couple years. Let's make sure that I'm thinking this through.
And we also have guests that come back, and we're probably talking about the same guest, but we also have guests that come back that go to church with our current transitional housing guests.
So they're like a mentor.
They'll come in and they'll mentor, but they'll come to us and say, what do you think about this? Are you okay with me pouring into this person? Before they just take it on, which is good as well. Because they want to make sure that they're respecting us as we're helping these people move forward as well.
That's great. Is there like an application or a waiting list? Because I'm sure you only have so many houses.
Right.
There's so many homeless.
We really don't do a waiting list because the truth is
we don't do reservations.
I love that the other
Dang,
day.
I thought we did.
Yeah, we
Somebody said we did.
I know.
Tell me about this, please.
Oh boy,
there might be a whole long.
That might actually be another episode.
A whole other episode.
Stay tuned.
Just put this. John told me where the cameras are. Listen, don't dump your crap on my porch, okay? If you need some help, just call and we'll see what we can do. Don't be dropping people off at our place at 4 o'clock, telling them that we're a shelter. We are not a shelter.
And that they had a reseration.
And they had a reservation, yes. There's more to that story, but it's a short version of it.
Another episode.
That was an interesting phone call between me and their management. Believe me.
Mercy.
Yeah.
All right. So if somebody needs help, they just call and
Yeah.
What we really try to do, we're only going to say so much on the phone.
Sure.
We don't know who we're talking to. We want to get an eyeball on them. We want to ask them a series of questions and vet them properly to kind of figure out where the next step is.
And it must be the person. It
Yeah.
cannot be their parent. It
No.
cannot be anybody. It must be the person that needs the help. Because if they don't want the help, they're not. It doesn't matter who calls.
Right.
If they're not ready, they're not ready.
They're not
Yep.
ready, right?
You know, and I just this morning, and this happens probably about twice a week, I will get a text, an email, a phone call. Often it's a parent of calling about their adult children, and Pastor Scott, I just know that you can save them. And I have to remind them, I don't save anybody, number one. Number two, when they're ready, when they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, then they need to call us. And even then, we really want to get you in front of us. So what I tell people, their best bet if they need help is to show up at Matthew's Hope on an outreach day.
Yeah.
They can show up about 8 o'clock. If they're there by noontime.
For Orange County, is it Tuesdays and Thursdays?
It's for both
For
locations.
both locations.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll stay there until we're done, but typically we're wrapping up completely by 1 o'clock. And then there's a lot of stuff to do to get ready for the next day. But our outreach teams go out on Mondays and Wednesdays. Our mobile teams go into the areas like Apopka and, Winter Garden and Nicoe and over here we have Cape Canaveral and Merritt Island and Cocoa Beach, Rockledge, Port St. John. I think we're about 15 municipalities now. So those teams are out every Monday and Wednesday, and then, like I said, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they can learn. If they need a ride, they can normally catch one of our buses,
Okay.
or take the public transportation out to us. And then that way they know they're going to be able to sit down with someone and start getting their questions answered. We can find out what their needs are, what they think their needs are. A lot of challenges is sometimes people come to me and they'll say, well, if I just had this, if I just had a car. Well, if that's all it took, I'd just open a car lot.
Right. Right.
Okay. If I just had, my degree, well, then maybe I should, so it really is trying to find out, instead of continues to treat the symptoms,
Yeah.
is we want to find out the cause. And the only way you're going to do that is develop that relationship with them. And once that happens, then our success rate goes up exponentially.
It's not easy though. It's not an easy road. And telling people no sometimes
I bet.
or not yet, it just always it does not always go well. But it's okay because it's a learning
Definitely.
process for sure.
That's good. So let's jump back to Brevard County, Trinity Oaks. How can somebody, and when, since you're in the process of creating the groom's room and the bridal suite, how does one rent this space, and when will it be available?
We technically are available now.
Okay.
We are booking for events now. We will be finished with, we're really now at the point of the final decorating stages of the groom's area and the bridal area. So I would say certainly by the end of February that will all be complete, and it's going to be awesome.
So
So
start booking dates.
we're just days away from being done.
Okay.
And it's pretty cool.
And they just call.
They call our
Office
phone
here.
number and just
Okay.
say they're interested in talking to somebody about the rental.
And our phone number is
407-905-9500.
Okay.
Yeah, they can call us, and we will put them in touch with one of our key staff members that handles that area, and talk to them about pricing, invite them to come for a tour, what have you, and see how we can
I
help
think
them.
I seen a young lady today come have a tour, so that was
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah. It's pretty cool.
Good. Well, thank you guys again for talking about the expansion and why it's necessary and all of the little nooks and crannies that go along with that. If you're interested in booking, please give them a call at...
407-905-9500. See, I thought you'd jump in there.
I
She's,
should've
You
looked
talk
at- I
too
should've looked at
fast.
her.
You talk too fast.
she's more than a pretty face. She really is. There's a reason she's our vice president.
Extension number 2.
Is
There
it?
you go.
Oh, there you go.
Don't forget the extension too. Thank you.
You call and then you hit number 2 for Brevard.
There you go. So thank you guys for supporting. Come and check out the space. It's a beautiful space. You can support by donations online. You can call them. You can come volunteer.
Send us your questions.
Yes,
Yes.
we want your questions. So
Absolutely.
like, comment, share, help us get the word out. We need you guys. Thanks so much.